And welcome to the Galfond Challenge. I'm David Tuchman, Richard Gayler alongside me in a metaphorical sense.
To the Galfond
Action Freak, Phil Galfond, slated to play session number 3. Of course, Galfond, this is, technically the third challenge that he has started. This one will end before the Bill Perkins one. Bill Perkins match is just 2 sessions in, and that'll be kind of sporadic due to Bill's traveling schedule, his internet availability schedule, so forth and so on. But they are just 2 sessions in. Galfond with a 90,000 euro lead in that one. Is there a challenge that you are particularly looking forward to the most? Is it this one? Is it the Jungle Man?
Honestly, I was aware of NEVD before this started, and that was the one I was most looking forward to. And I think seeing Phil's adjustments as he was getting back into the swing of things was the most interesting so far. And I'm not sure the later ones will match up to that, just because of the dynamic of Phil already being in the groove at that point. They'll be interesting to see. Are there any larger challenges in this 153?
This is the largest one right now. Obviously, that could change. Players coming out of the woodwork.
Wow.
Nice little pot there for Phil Galfond. Let's see a replay on that one.
Yeah, we saw a check call, check raise bet, I think, when Phil turning the coconuts. Actionfreak continued turn with a half pot barrel, which when he bets that small, he's going to get attacked by Phil a decent amount, so he feels obligated to defend a lot of his 7x. And on an offsuit ace river, that doesn't increase Phil's full houses hardly any, except for a7, which he's blocking. So he's got plenty of straight draw and flush draws that can check raise, bet, turn, and river. So pretty natural to see Freak bet call there.
Jamie Seattle says, "What's Hollywood Park like these days, Tuck? Haven't been there since they renovated it." It's quite nice. It's still in a dodgy part of town, obviously, but they've done a really good job with the renovation. And when the new football stadium opens up, and obviously people can come watch the games, the action in Hollywood Park should be pretty insane on the weekends. Like, I'm going to have to readjust my schedule. I normally play Monday through Fridays, maybe 3 days a week, 20 hours a week or so, and I keep weekends for family. I might have to adjust schedule during football season because the games are going to be so good during football season at Hollywood Park.
Wow, we just saw something incredibly non-standard.
Let's see it.
So on deep pockets, it went raise through bet call, check, C bet call, and then on Phil's river on a 7, he didn't turn his ace king into a bluff.
Why?
Beats me. I think my default is to bluff with my ace high on that river. Action Freak really struggles to defend appropriately. It's such a, Action Freak has so many draws on the turn. After he checks back flop, he has pretty much only trips and top set that are happy to defend on the river, which becomes quads, so it's even less frequent. So he just has an extremely weak range, and Phil didn't rip the ace high. Maybe he thought he had enough showdown, and it went check, and he won. So he's playing a better PO game than I do. But I would have imagined he would have continued on that river. Action not bluffing that river is another interesting spot, because he can.
David Tuchman, Richard Gayler, watching the Galfond Challenge. It's Action Freak, first Phil Galfond. They're playing 150, 300 PLO. Thanks for joining us.
Pretty sure this went bet raise on the turn and then donk for pot. So Phil is saying he has 67 or 10-9. If Phil is leading 6-7 here, we have the potential for Freak to jam his 10-9 and seeing a very large pot. As if Phil has, for instance, 6-7-9, he will look him up. Wow. Set no blocker. Saying, what you got? Do you know the difference between 10-9-7 and 10-8-7? It's a nuance, but it's actually a big one.
Explain it to us.
So on the streets, we have a through-up pot and 10-9-7 two-tone. On this board, you can have the nut wrap, king, queen, jack. Whereas on 10-8-7, the best straight draw that your opponent can have is a gutter. So we're going to be seeing much more bluffing from the in-position player on 10-8-7 because there are fewer lower quality redraws, whereas on 10-9-7, both players should have a higher betting frequency and more raises because the board is more dynamic. 10-8-7 Rainbow is one of the most static boards in the game, whereas 10-9-7 Rainbow has a ton of draws.
That's amazing. I mean, I would never think that that small little change would have that big a difference.
Yeah, well, PO is a game of 1,000 inches. You figure out all those small nuances and then figure out how to punish your opponents. I mean, if your opponent plays in a three-bet pot and they see bet 10-8-7 Rainbow and you're in position, I honestly don't care what I have. I'm just going to raise 2.4x and let them figure it out. They just have to bet fold at such a stupidly high frequency. And then they're also going to want to play some of their nuts as traps, so their betting range is even weaker. You can really abuse some people. Big turn in the lab.
We got 10 of spades on the turn there. Pot is 11,200.
Huge turn. Both flush draws mean that people can't just be nits and continuous straights. We're going to see some pretty light call downs from Actionfreak.
Galfond betting pot. Pot is now 22,500 euros. Action back over to the freak.
Very possible to see a cooler here. If Phil was, for instance, pot calling 7-8, Queen 8, and Freak just has it. Here it is.
There it is, all in, call.
King, Queen against top set. No good.
8 of spades on the river. Galfond wins it with the straight, and that's a monster pot.
You love to see it. 100K stack, casual. Let's go, Phil. Yeah, man, you love to have top set there. Or sorry, you love to have the nut straight and have your opponent just be drawing to board pairs.
Once again, the total winnings on your screen are not being updated today. We're having a little bit of a tech issue with that, but everything else is being updated. Total hands are not being updated either. So just the session hands are being updated and session winnings are being updated. We will have to do a little bit of math. By the way, the saying you said earlier on, is this a well-known PLO saying? Because I'd never heard it. PLO is a game of 1,000 inches?
No.
Or is that something you just made up?
It's just, I mean, I think it's actually old school wisdom from other stuff. Life is a process of it's just 1,000 inches. It's 1,000 small edges. It's just how I think about it. I don't know. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere. I wouldn't say I coined it.
This is good. I like it. The Gaylerisms are fantastic. I'll tickle you twice. A game of 1,000 inches. What else do you have in your little bag of tricks? Wow, big pot here. Galfond piling it in on the 5 of diamonds turn. Let's take it to the lab.
Yeah.
What's going on in there?
It looks like a bluff to me. It looks like a big draw, but we'll see.
76,000 in there.
Wow. Set over set.
Set over set indeed. Galfond with another enormous pot. He's up to 143,000.
But he does have a 5-5 that is not an automatic get it in there, given it's 5-5 with bad side cards, preventing Phil from having some bluffs and weighting him more heavily towards ace-ace.
I think what you said, though, is important. I think for a lot of players out there, as we wait for the replay, I think, for a lot of players out there, unless my thing's not updating here for some reason.
They already popped up the replay.
I was going to say, yeah, I have 3 different screens, and sometimes my replay screen just freezes for whatever reason, so I did miss that one. Anyway, I think a lot of players they'll second guess themselves when they flop huge hands, and they think to themselves, or let's say they flop a decent second best hand and they pay off, and they just think, oh, how could have I gotten away from this one? By the way, in the lab, Actionfreak betting pot on the 6 of clubs turn.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. He should want to pile this turn all day.
And I think what you said is so key. It's just so important to realize that there are spots where you should just go broke.
Yeah, I had a day 3 days ago where I ran something like 8 or 9 buy-ins into spots where you're supposed to lose. They've got wide ranges. You're towards the top of your range, and I just got coolered again and again and again and again. And once you've been playing for a long time, you understand this is the way, and you just accept it, and get up the next day and play again. But I know how it feels. It happened this week.
Actionfreak with an SPR of just under 3, 7 of diamonds on
0.3. Yeah, he should be
0.3. Sorry.
Phil has a ton of air here. He has very little nuts. Most of his queens up, for instance, would have just got it in on the turn. He could have some slow played deuce 6, 10 deuce, 10 6 for value, and then any rivered 2-pair plus straights. And so we're looking at mainly overpairs from Actionfreak and some grouping of air and middling 2 pairs from Phil.
This pot is 47,000, 13,000 a call.
Yeah, I think you just got to flick it in here a lot of the time. Phil can be super light here, ace jack 9 type hands. He's any king jack. It's hard to believe that Freak would fold even something like a queen there. He really has to believe that Phil's weighted towards his value region for some timing tell or something to fold there. You have to win so unbelievably infrequently when it's SPR 0.3.
Yeah, and by the way, Jungle Man was recently on the Marley Cordero, Jamie Kerstetter podcast, which is sponsored by Run It Once Poker, and they talked about that. I know Jungle Man is kind of firing shots, so to speak.
Yeah,
3-bet pot in the lab.
Yeah, in Jungle Man's shoes, it's hard not to fire shots when you're as much of a boss as he is.
Yeah, no doubt.
Gotta be respectful, especially if someone's willing to sit you. We were looking at a replay for the 9833 single raise pot, but it's not too important. So I like this turn bet by Actionfreak, very small. He can have a ton of overpairs. A couple draws that checked flop that are betting turn. This is generally Phil's river, though, although he'll have it at a pretty low frequency. Should see a check. Wow. So I'm trying to have one of my students stop doing PLO sins, and if I saw him do this, I would say it's a PLO sin to bet a third pot here, but he's just going for super thin value. I'd expect to have a decent amount of raises out of Phil.
PLO sin. I like it. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few.
Okay, just if you imagine we all didn't know a lot about PLO, and there's the raise. I mean, you predicted this spot on. We don't even know what Richard has no idea what the players have, but this is a PLO sin and then a raise, and there's a call.
Of 74. Love the induce. So when you see such a high-level player do something that looks wrong, you might be getting trapped. You're exploiting information asymmetries in sequential games. That's what you're doing. They don't know how you're constructing your range. They don't know what formation you're about to transition into, what play you're going to run. You're showing the same signal, but having a different sequence. That's it's beautiful. I mean, I used to do that in StarCraft, which is a game of imperfect information as well, where you show one thing and then you have different branches. It's one of my favorite parts of games, to be honest. It provides the opportunity for generating a large amount of EV. We've got a big one on the streets.
We do.
Big drama river. Possibility of straight over straight here at a decent frequency. Phil leads. Wow.
Phil goes pot. By the way, we've got a big pot brewing over in the lab as well.
Yeah, so it's completely possible for him to have, for instance, a queen or king high missed flush draw that's trying to lead here to take it down. Plenty of bluffs there.
Galfond does not get calm there. He takes that one down. And in the lab, we've got 18,600 in the pot. Deuce of clubs on the river.
Yeah, I think this is a cooler. I'm pretty sure. It's possible Phil can hero fold, but I'm pretty sure this is a cooler.
Pot size bet from Actionfreak.
You know it's coming after that turn.
What bluffs does he have in his range here?
Oh, any ace X, any 10X, and then maybe, for instance, king 10 with the king of diamonds. Any ace X weaker than ace, ace Jack.
Is a hand as strong as ace 10, like let's say two pair, ace 10, is that a good bluff candidate?
Well, so I have noticed this in the Veni Vidi match. There were multiple times where a player had top two, where I would have turned it into a bluff, and they didn't. So it's possible. Yeah, this is a cooler. Saw that coming. Poor Phil. Couldn't get away from what was probably the nut flush, possibly a bottom full house. Unfortunate. Look at this. Look at this flop bet. Look at that. Love it. He's been doing this previously too, so it's definitely part of his game.
MO. That is definitely his MO. 3-bet pot, paired board. I'm going 1/6 pot size bet.
Well, yeah, especially on low paired boards. Thank you, Double N. You got me for another couple hours at least, and I'll be back on Saturday, so tune in if you like it. Turn check, check. Wow. Phil is highly incentivized to barrel off on this turn, so to check is a big statement.
And what statement is that? I mean, when you are highly incentivized to be barreling off and you decide to check, is that a give up, or is that more I've got something that I want to get the showdown with?
Showdown. Exactly. Yeah, you know what's up. Come on, give yourself some credit. You're a veteran.
No, I know how to play poker. I would just say when I tell people PLO is my worst game, it's on a relative basis. Look at that. So after checking back, this is really interesting. After checking back, he decides to raise the river.
It's a trap. Gotta love it.
Could this be queens?
I think this is a bluff, to be honest, but we'll see.
I'm going queens.
We might not.
I think it's queens. I think he was checking back queens. We'll never know. Oh,
yeah. I don't believe that. I don't believe that bet.
It was always that was my thought process. I'm not folding rivers on like limit hold'em when I'm getting 14-1. If I have anything,
Yeah. Well, that's
because you're just getting such a good price. So when I went from limit poker to big bet poker, that just came along with me. It was like, okay, well, what's my price here? Wow, okay,
yeah.
the pot's got $600 in there. The guy bet, 140. Well, I'm getting a pretty good price.
Many limit players that transition are massive stations.
But I am. I am guilty as charged. Oh yeah, I love the hero call, man.
Well, I'm a station as well, so you and me both. But there's a consequential exploit that you're referencing, where if someone is calling basically always with all their bluff catchers because of price, some limit players drastically underbluff in a few spots because they just know they're getting paid with their value, and because it's live, they get to check down and not show their missed, the bluff they didn't follow through with. And I remember
big pot brewing over here in the lab, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much king high flush plus for Freak. That's what I'd expect with the straight flush. He could have a few straight flush blockers, and then the ace, king, and queen of diamonds for some blockers. This looks like a single raise pot that was tripled off. Is that right? Queen high flush against ace of diamonds. Well played hand by both of them.
If you want to check out any of the shows you've ever missed, if you've missed any of the Veni Vidi action, or here, the Actionfreak action, you can head over to YouTube, subscribe to the Run It Once Poker YouTube channel, and you'll see a bunch of really great highlight shows over there.
We also have Moonlight Master throwing up some Run It Once approved highlights. He's doing a great job. Shout out to him. Yeah, I've actually been watching them to stay up to date on what their lines are in the big ones. Pretty useful.
One thing I noticed during the Veni Vidi match, and I think Owen Carey had mentioned this because he had played against Veni Vidi, he said that Veni Vidi tends to find bluffs in areas and spots that other players don't find bluffs. Would you say that Actionfreak is bluffing at a more, I don't want to say more acceptable rate, but maybe just less?
That's a hard question to answer. I think, at least during my sessions, we saw Veni as objectively as I can call it, punt. And those, it's very kind of Phil to say that Venny finds some bluffs and spots that are underbluffed. I think the more appropriate way to put it is that Venny put large amounts of chips into inelastically continuing ranges that just have it. Yes,
Speaking
that
of
means
having it started, stop 53,000 in there. Galfond in the tank on this. This is it.
Mhm.
Are we going to see a 70,000 euro pot right here?
Yeah, we do if Phil's got ace-9. Pretty hard to fold that.
We do not. Galfond folds.
Yeah, maybe some kind of weak 5x. More likely some kind of draw with a 9 blocker.
Four bet. Let's get your four bets in the chat. Four bets in the chat. 16-2 in there. King 10-8. Actionfreak is the four better.
Huge flop for Phil. Huge flop. His 3-bet call range smashes this board. He could pot here and put Freak's aces in a tough spot. They still have to go with it, though.
Well, he does pot here.
We have seen, I mean, I've looked at a lot of hand histories of Actionfreak. He puts in 4 bets with the appropriate raggedy double-suited ace-high hands, and those do hit this board as well. Would be very surprised to see a fold here. However, the 4-bet frequency has been quite low. He might not want to have the aces stick it in here and be dead to the king-king. The most common way for players to do better than the robot that you described is to understand how that person that is trying to implement GTO is actually failing to do it, because no human is perfect at it. So the more quickly you can understand how someone's messing up a spot with their range construction, despite them thinking that it's correct, the more quickly you'll be able to take advantage of it and generate EV.
I always feel it's kind of a slippery slope you can go down, and like a little bit of a rabbit hole, in the sense of, we see a player do something quote unquote incorrectly, deviate from GTO, right? And then we assume that that's how they play. We assume, okay, that's their leak. And couldn't it be wrong to assume that it's always that way? By the way, big pot over here in the lab.
Yeah, super draw heavy. Wouldn't be surprised to see like 6, 8, 9 with spades or something from Freak. Single raise pot, so he's got a lot of those lower cards. Phil's trying to decide what he does with something like King 7, 6.
Phil in the tank here. He does make the call. Pot is 38,200.
Huge river for Phil. This is you're in the pain zone, SPR 0.4. If you've got 4, 6 here, do you jam? No, you probably have to play his check and then face a polarized range of missed draws and boats from Phil. Just such a nasty spot. Such a nasty spot. You hate to see it. I mean, the tank is coming in 8 seconds later, pot, it's coming. If Phil checks here, I'd be shocked. There it is.
That's certainly not a check. He bets pot, essentially. Actionfreak has to put it all in if he wants to make it.
0.4. 0.4. The effective stack is 17K.
Right. Because Actionfreak only had 17,000. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, this is super tough. And
there's the call.
Oh, you love to see it.
Wow. So Actionfreak did have the 6-4.
What a call. I just want to clear up that someone's confusing me with another person. My name is Richard Gayler, not Richard Grieco. We're both Richard G's, but Raconteur is Richard Grieco, a different Run-A-Once Elite Pro. I am not that person. Yeah, I was Amor Fati for the short time stars.
It's all call. Richard Grieco, David Tuchman here for the Galfond Challenge. Hope you guys are enjoying it. We know who you really are, okay?
Well, deep down, I'm just a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
8,400 in the pot over in the streets. 6 of clubs on the turn, 2 spades out there. Galfond betting pot.
Goes for it.
Apparently not afraid of the 4-5.
Or saying he has it himself.
Right. What's up, Pappy? There's the call. Pot is now 25,000. Blank on the river. That is a blank, right?
Yes. I could see some ace queen jack 6 nut spades or something from Phil just going forward, or maybe ace queen 5 7 nut spades bluffing. Phil has previously continued wagering for large sizings when he had the blocker to the straight. He definitely is repping the 4-5 a decent amount on these kinds of textures. He played a huge hand on king 10 6 3, I believe, or king 10 6 4, where he repped the rivered straight with a busted straight draw flush draw. So
Galfond checks.
Yeah, he's probably leaning more towards the ace queen jack 6 type hand than saying he's got showdown. And given Freak flatted turn, he could flat with some 4-5, but now Phil's trying to check and let Freak bluff. However, Freak has a decent amount of value here.
Well, he is saying he has immense value. He bets pot. Galfond with just 22,500 behind, so this pot is actually 47,022 to call.
Phil needs to be good about 31% of the time, 31, 32. Is he, is the question. He doesn't think so.
He thinks he is not.
Yeah.
So as he fold, Actionfreak takes that one down. We are very, very close to being even right now on the day. Explain to me why, if Actionfreak did turn the nuts, if he had 4-5 there, 4-bet pot, by the way, Galfond the 4-better. He's taking it to the streets. After this hand, I'll ask that question again.
Yeah, we got a big one coming. This is a tough spot with any like single-suited kings or single-suited queens for Freak.
There's the call, ace king 4. I would assume this is strongly favoring the 4-better.
Yeah, I mean, massive favorite for Phil. We should see probably a small bet here, given the SPR is 1.3 or so, maybe something like third pot, quarter pot. There it is, quarter pot.
4,000 into 16. What does Actionfreak do with a hand like? I mean, if he's got kind of a queen jack 10 type hand.
Oh, well, queen jack 10 is very happy to peel flop.
Okay.
I mean, he's not going to get Phil to fold, really. Only a couple hands Phil would fold here. And he's in equity realization mode for sure.
Deuce 3, I assume not relevant in a
yeah
4-bet pot.
Neither is 67 really. It's very difficult for Freak to have any kind of 67 besides maybe like king 4 6 7 double. Phil should be putting it in here almost always. I'd be surprised if he checks back unless he has something like ace 7 8 9, ace 10 8 6, double at 4-bet. He's got the ace queen queen jack. I think well played by both.
Is that what they say? Don't they say if you put 10,000, you have to put 10,000 hours of something of work into something to become an expert?
Yeah, I mean, I think that depends on the competency of the person. You can get there faster if you're more competent. But everyone that has been in the poker world for a while was severely handicapped playing PLO before 2017 because you had people out there writing books about quote unquote theory. You know, Jeff Long and other people like that try win. And those, you know, Tom Chambers did a good job of it actually pre-solver, but basically they were all wrong. So you just spent, you know, thousands of hours, multiple years learning and studying and playing a game only to understand post-solver that you are a spot. So everyone had to scramble to catch up, and PLO's gotten a lot tougher in the last 3 years.
Wait, you're telling me my Pot Limit Omaha poker book by Jeff Long is bad? I should just throw it in the trash?
Well, if you're going to go play 2-5 at the Aria, yeah, go ahead and read that book. If you're going to sit against Actionfreak, you will get eaten alive. I wouldn't say it's irrelevant. I think it's fine for live, low-stakes PLO games. A lot of it still holds true because those games haven't changed in the last few years. But yeah, of course, I know you were joking. But there is still some relevancy to them, just not for anything for any reasonable amount of money. If you're trying to make anything over $100 an hour, it's not going to be applicable.
Well, I want to make more than 100 an hour, so I'm tossing that. I am going to, you know what? I'm going to live tweet or I will live stream the burning of that book tomorrow night.
Wow. What a cooler.
That is.
What
I'm
a
going to replay
cooler.
that one. That was awesome.
Yeah. Top boat versus middle boat.
But you can also, and I strongly encourage you guys to do that if you want to check out all the highlight shows. We have between Moonlight Master doing it, they're Run It Once Poker approved, and also we have the Run It Once Poker YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that and see all the highlight shows. So if you missed of any VD match, which we've been talking about, and it was epic, it was just a script. It was amazing. The drama was phenomenal. We all got caught up in it, and it was so much fun. You can check out those highlight shows over at YouTube, and of course these as well.
Yeah, I mean the ending of that. What a photo finish. Wow, look at this. Get it in on 9-5-3. Phil's got a lot of big draws, a lot of made hands, 9-5, all his sets, 9-3 with like 9-3-4-6. Can want to get in here. Very deep. SPR.
We've got, yeah, I was gonna say this is really deep. We could see a 100K pot here. 93,000 in there. Wow. We do get it all in.
Oh, drills the 5.
He does drill that 5.
I mean, versus that sizing, I guess you have to raise. It just really sucks when you get jammed on. Man, that's such a gross spot. 9-3-7-8. So, oh, he's got a gutter too. I like that a lot more with a gutter. I thought it was naked 9-3 backdoor flush draw. Yeah, I think that get it in is totally fine. But man, what an unfortunate turn. What an unfortunate turn. These guys are swinging for the fences.
So Galfond had what? Backdoor spades, top and bottom, and a gut shot.
Yeah, you got to get that in. That's
against the pair and the flush draw, the nut flush draw.
Yeah, if you take away the backdoor flush draw and the gutter, because those hands, those components of your hand add so much equity against Actionfreak's stronger made hands. I mean, that's a massive amount of equity it adds. I think that's totally fine. Wow, Phil leveraging his nuts advantage in this 3-bet pot, potting the ace-jack 9-5. Wow. A lot of big draws out there. Good river for Actionfreak. Phil deciding, does he play his check, and if so, does he look him up? Pretty
we're in the
nasty
lab
spot.
here. Pot is nearly 27,000 euros. 7 of clubs on the river.
Yeah, should see a lot of checks out of Phil.
Does check.
There it is. Does he go for it? He probably does. Hard to see. If Actionfreak has some 2-pair, he'll check back. But I expect to see a jam here a large amount of the time, and Phil will be in the pain zone. There it is.
There it is indeed. Pot size bet, well, a little bit under, as Galfond only has 20,500.
Yeah, what a tough spot. I mean, if he has a 10 or an 8 with a made hand, you'll feel obligated to call, but I just feel like Actionfreak has it this time. You're really only beating Queen 10 and Miss Spades. Maybe King Queen 10.
He makes the call. Queen 10.
Wow.
Miss Spades, though.
Wow.
So Actionfreak did have the Queen 10. He did not have the Miss Spades. Galfond makes the hero call.
Yeah. He had King Queen 10, actually. Slightly stronger draw, and just, wow, Phil with a soul read. You hate to have the Queen in your hand. He had ace high, I believe, with ace queen. Oh, aces and 5s with a 10, I think, was the board. Ace jack 9, 7, 5. Yeah, he had top and bottom with a 10, but he also had a queen. You hate to see the queen in your hand.
As my indoctrination into the PLO world happens, as I jump into this PLO rabbit hole, I'm just starting to figure out. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, so while the actual strength of a hand is less, I'd actually rather call with hand A as opposed to B in certain spots. Whoa, huge pot. Huge pot.
Wow. We're looking at top set and nut wrap.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
99,000 in there.
Bang, bang. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang, indeed.
Wow.
Galfond just won a 99,000 euro pot. Are you kidding me? 100,000 euros basically in that pot, and Galfond just won it.
Let's be friendly and convert it to dollars. That's over 100K pot. Holy cow. I made the decision not to try and get from where I was to the very, very tip top. I'm branching out into business. You know, I'm not trying to become a nosebleeds crusher. And so I enjoy the community aspect of this. I gave up the opportunity to play in some games by doing this, and I know that.
And looking back on it, would you regret that, or are you happy with that decision?
Oh, I mean, I've already done some great things outside of poker since I've been transitioning, and I think it's only going to get better. You know, I've got a really great team around me, a great partner. The very first day that I was a professional poker player, I set out a plan of how I was going to stop being a professional poker player. So the answer is I'd much rather be doing other things.
I like it. You stepped into the ring immediately thinking, how can I get out of this ring?
Yeah, it was a conscious decision for the area under the curve, for the duration that I would play, for the average hourly I would have that I could attain from my estimations for how much money I'd be able to make from poker to then go do my own things.
I've always maintained this, and I know it's been echoed by other players out there. I always say that if you can make a living playing poker, and you are smart enough to do that and figure that out, then you are probably smart enough and cagey enough to be successful at many other things in life as well. Pot size bet here from Galfond.
Couldn't agree more. I tend to believe this from Phil, though he has a bunch of missed draws, so his value to bluff ratio could potentially be bluff skewed, and Actionfreak could look him up extremely light here. Something like Queen Queen or King King that unblocks the Jack 10 combos, no heart. Naked Kings here, pretty good bluff catcher. But I tend to believe this bet. Kinda looks like he has it. His value to bluff ratio could just be so off, though, that Actionfreak might default to his.
There's the call.
There it is.
He
Wow.
does have it. You believed it.
That's a good play. Queen 9. That's a good play. Love it.
I mean, I think the vast majority of us we're human when it comes down to it. Got 11,900 in the pot over in the lab. We're human, and a lot of times we do judge our decision making based on the result, and we second guess ourselves based on the result rather than just focus on the decision making process.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
this is
like
quite
you said,
curious.
I mean, if Phil doesn't have it there, then does he look like a genius? Maybe, who knows?
Right.
16-1 in there. Wow.
Yeah, he potted 10-9-4 SPR like 8 or something. That's quite deep to have a potting range there. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like naked King King Jack. So he's got some nuts here for sure. Also the nut wrap. Phil's going to big picture have more of the lower wraps. He'll still have the King Jack, King Queen Jack, and such, but the 3-bet range of Freak is going to have more higher quality straight draws. This is definitely a turn favoring Actionfreak.
Pot size bet here from Actionfreak. Pot is 32-3.
Yeah, so if you think about a hand like Ace King with spades, it's hard to see him potting flop with that. So some of the natural bluffs here, I struggle to attribute to Freak's range. But after this call, I mean, Phil has some slow played sets maybe, and then Jack 8. But I expect a cooler here, King Jack, Jack 8, if we go to showdown. And there it is. And there's
a call. Jack 8.
Oh, wow. That is thin. Did you see that top set?
Yep. He actually had 2 sets.
4-4. Yeah. But still, to pot that turn.
The aces.
Oh, 4-bet. Let's see that first. Pot.
But Phil checked back the 10 high flush, right? 10 deuce of hearts.
He did. That is so tight.
Oh, 5-bet.
Oh,
it's all in.
Aces versus
aces.
Let's
go. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Aces versus aces.
In there. Aces versus aces.
Jackball? No, chop chop. Man, I had the scotch ready, but no dice.
Well, you can thank software like Vision. You can thank videos that you put up there on One at Once for that.
Yeah, I'm contributing to the heat death of the universe or the demise of poker or whatever. Maybe I should make I can make my next screen name Entropy.
Yeah, you got to put out some bad information out there. Trick them.
Well, I don't get paid for that. Maybe I could start a meme. Do you think there's room in the poker ecosystem for a meme training site?
Oh, definitely. There's always room. Just squeeze it in. Who cares? 8,900 in there. This is a 3-bet pot. Galfond bet 1/3 pot on the flop. Got called by Actionfreak. I'm looking in the lab right now. 3-bet pot over in the streets as well.
So this one 3-bet call, check, pot.
Yes.
This turn, Freak's leveraging is 4-5. He's going to have picked up a bunch of draws. Say he has like 7, 8, 9, 10. He's got a decent amount of bluffs here. Phil's trying to decide what he does with his aces up. Maybe his ace, king, king spades that he didn't want to bet fold. Aces can also just check jam here.
He makes the call. Well, spades got there. But the
Such
board...
a big river for Phil. Big river for Phil. Although Freaks, for instance, 7-7 can flat flop and then bet turn and fill up on the river. So Phil can't jam with impunity, but I expect to see a jam here decently often. If he checks here, we probably have some kind of middling spades. There's the jam.
Pot size bet, although Actionfreak only has 16,000, so it's 16,000. So the pot is 43,000, 16 to call.
Oh, man, this is tense. Freak, if he has something like ace-7, ace-6, does he call? He's got wonderful blockers. Tough spot for a lot of Freak's hands. 4-5 is crying, puking perhaps.
Perhaps stabbing somebody with a knife.
Yeah, or convicting someone.
Either way.
Deep in the tank. Deep in the tank.
He does make the call.
Oh.
And he did not have the ace. He had king, queen of spades.
So we got a 4-bet.
We do another 4-bet here.
Holla. I have a suspicion he's not aces here.
There's the call.
Given the dynamic.
Spades.
The swings,
16-2.
The momentum against him. I have a suspicion Freak is not aces here.
We are going to get a replay after this 4-bet hand.
Phil deciding not to pot call. He might be onto this as well and trapping. If Freak has something that he 4-bets, like ace, queen, 5, 7 double or such, Phil might want to let him rip.
Pot size bet here. Actionfreak committing himself to the hand.
And he goes for it.
Galfond says, I don't care. There's the call. Pot is 71,000. 7-8 get there.
Bang, bang. So he did have it. I mean, he's obviously going to be 4-betting that hand, but I thought in that spot he could be wider. I don't know. It's hard to see what bluffs Phil would have had there.
I mean, you have to imagine he's balanced, though, right? I mean, he has to have some bluffs.
No. When you call pot on the turn and you have such a low SPR.
And then bomb river.
Yeah, when you have such a low SPR, it's just really hard to have enough bluffs there. It's really hard to have enough bluffs there. So we saw him
is that a bad call then from Actionfreak?
Well, I don't want to call it a bad call. He had a flush in a 3-bet pot when Phil took a weaker line, but it could have been. Wow.
By the way, Galfond now up 202,000 on the day. We are 709 hands in, and Galfond.
You'd love to see it.
200,000 once again.
Oh, check that out.
Another big pot.
Single raise pot that went check, raise, 3-bet,
it's all
4-bet,
going in.
5-bet set against wrap flush draw. Wow.
Wins another one.
He had bottom set with king high spades. Actionfreak is drawing pretty slim.
Yeah, was that another tickle, right?
Here, this is going to be a telling spot what sizing Freak chooses. I think that'll tell us a lot about his mental state. He already potted this, but when he was netted. If he just kind of pot calls off aces here, that says a lot about where he's thinking right now. Because I think that's...
Pot.
Pot.
Where are you at?
Yeah, exactly. If he just pot calls aces here, I'd feel a little worried for him. Because Phil's get it in range here is doing quite well. Oh, what a big turn for Phil.
There's the call. 6 of diamonds. 7-8 gets there. Diamond draw now possible.
Yeah, even just something like 10-8-6, huge turn for Phil. SPR 1.2, does Freak go with it? He does. Oh. He might have to call an ambulance. Maybe some YOLOs. Well, Phil doesn't have the nuts.
No, he does not have the nuts. He folds.
Maybe there's a method to the madness, huh? I mostly coach my players that I back. That's the primary coaching I do.
3-bet pot, monotone board over at the lab. Do you just coach in PLO, or do you play other games and coach other games as well?
I do not feel comfortable coaching anything else. I feel like it would be disingenuous to the person.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to PM me on Run It Once or hit me up on Instagram for coaching, I'll do it. Until I have too little time. I like this turn sizing from Phil. I think it's potentially very thin. We could see even something like ace-6 with a spade here. He benefits a lot from protection by betting this turn. It's very hard to call with something like 10-7-8 that got turned. And now I expect Phil to be check calling here quite wide. Wider than you would think. Freak's going to have a bunch of floats on this turn. I don't believe this. I don't believe this at all.
I don't believe you, says Richard Gayler.
Yeah, he could have some check back spades, but fourth spade. Every spade you have in your hand decreases their flushes by a significant amount.
There's
about
the
a
call.
sixth.
Galfond doesn't call, doesn't believe it either. Jack deuce of spades. He was never folding that, was he?
Never, ever, ever. But you see the float that Freak had?
What did he have? I didn't see it.
8-8-7 deuce with a spade.
Wow.
Well, I've probably played like 2 million, something like that. So,
or millions of hands, I should say then.
Yeah, that helps. But when you watch these guys and you get to see cards up, you start to know how they think, and you know how they balance their ranges, and that is a skill that you learn from playing a lot and having to do that for many players. And like when I do it across many tables, I have to be doing it for every opponent simultaneously. And I've been playing with some guys for years and years on screen name sites, so like I know intimately how they think about the game. And once you understand archetypes of players and how they think about the game, then you can apply it to other players. But these two guys are more unique. You can't just take some general concept of a type of strategy and apply it to them. Wow, surprised to see check on that turn on the streets. A lot of incentive for a lot of Phil's hands to bet to deny equity, and then a lot of incentive for a lot of Freak's hands to bluff. And to get check and a king of clubs, I'd say this slightly favors Freak. He's going to have some middling flushes that check back. And there he goes. He's repping the 9 high clubs. And Phil runs up with some broadways, some top 2s with club blockers, something like king, queen, jack. And he has to decide, do I look this guy up? Because this is such a credible bet. And this is also, from rank perspective, Phil's... Oh, my goodness.
Galfond just raised.
Hold the phone.
Hold the phone indeed.
But yeah, I got a little inebriated and punted off in Blind Man's Bluff a couple of my buy-ins, maybe more than a couple, you know. Just
those blind games are great. We used to play that when I was a kid. We'd play in our home games. It was just one card. So you'd hold one card and
that's fun.
Basically, yeah.
Well, when you have high-low with a chop pot, it makes it extra interesting. And I will say, though, I dropped like 15K or so, and I won it the next day. So
this is in your home game?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a little excessive, but
your home game was very different than my home game was.
Well, I might have inflated it a little bit.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's just, you know, the boys having some fun. Throw out some...
Nothing wrong with that. 12,700 in the pot. 9 of spades on the river. Doesn't complete anything.
Yeah. Tough spot for Phil, although Freak checks, lets him off the hook, and wow.
And Galfond nets pot.
Wow. A lot of bluffs here for Phil.
There's the call. Set of 4s for Phil Galfond. Actionfreak sitting out again. This could be it. Good game. There it is. So they did come back from the break.
Bring it home.
Not surprisingly, Actionfreak playing the minimum today. Now, by the way, if the players sit out a day, well, I thought he said good game.
Wow. He did say good game, but maybe he's got a little bit of an itch. He might be a bit of an action freak. You never know.
Wow, that was interesting. Okay, a little fake. No, okay, now he's sitting out.
He's running some bluffs.
Okay, they are gone.
All.
Okay, so
that's all.
Just so everybody is aware, because we saw this happen during the Veni Vidi challenge, if the players take a scheduled day off, they pay a €3,000 penalty. If the players end 15 minutes early, they pay a €250 penalty. That might have been the reason why Actionfreak came back. They had to play at least 5 hours today. In my opinion, I don't know Actionfreak from anybody, but he's down almost 300K today. Nothing really going his way. As far as I'm concerned, play the minimum, lick your wounds, come back tomorrow.